What's up, everybody? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays for this Tuesday, June 9th, 2020. I am your host, Russ Williams. I'm so glad you can make it here today. I'm quite aware you could have been anywhere in this world today. I know you could have been anywhere in this world today, but you decided to be here with me, and I appreciate that. And more importantly, I appreciate you. So welcome to Transition Tuesday on this balmy 87 degree day here in New York City. Very hot, very humid. Oh, a lot of stuff is going on. But welcome to Transition Tuesdays. Hey, before I begin, I like to talk about my intentions for Transition Tuesdays, which never changes. And my intentions is to give you the opportunity to laugh, smile, and think and engage in honest conversations about your life's transition. So that's what we do here on Transition Tuesdays. Let me see if I have anybody appearing. We got John joining us. What's going on, John? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays, my friend. Appreciate having you. Hey, so guys out there, how is everybody's Tuesday going? How was your Transition Tuesday? How is your Transition Tuesday? I always like to open it up and see how everybody's doing out there. So again, I'm just shouting out some greetings to see how everybody's Transition Tuesday is going. Hey, so a couple of things before we start the show. I want to give a shout out to Ryan and Pam Ford, who was on my show last week. We talked about kind of race relations, and I just want to give an apologies to you guys, the listener and the viewers. I think I did a bad job of setting up my guest. I didn't give them the proper intro that was needed for our conversation that we had, because I think if you just joined us, in the midst of the show, you would probably think I was on the attack. But I just want to give I should have did a better job of introing my guest. And like, for example, I've known Ryan and Pam. I know Ryan for the past 30 years. Ryan used to be my college coach at Manhattan College. Then from there, we went to Johnston's, and I knew him there as well. So very good friend of mine. Again, I've known him for 30 years, and Pam has been by his side all that time. So I think I did a poor job of setting up my guest, and I'd like to take the time to do that now. And I think it puts the interview in better context, knowing about our history than them just coming on. So again, I just wanted to apologize to you guys. If anybody was offended by our conversation, which I hope you would not, because again, we just had dialogue and conversation. And but again, I did a poor job of setting that up, and I apologize about that. But I think we got a lot. I think we learned a lot, just about, just having the conversation, having the dialogue. And I want to be in full transparency. I reached out to a couple of people who I wanted to come on the show, and to this day, they have not reached back out to me. So that tells me a lot of who I'm rocking with, or who I will continue and not to continue rocking with. So that tells me a lot. So again, I'd like to thank Ryan and Pam Ford for coming on last week. And we're going to keep that conversation going. And we're going to have them on at a later time. We're going to have them on, and just to keep the dialogue going. We got David Russell joining us. St. John's Finest joining us. We got Steve Marandino joining us. What's going on, Steve? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays. Welcome, guys. Welcome to Transition Tuesdays. So, yeah, so I want to do that. And, a lot of stuff goes on Transition Tuesdays. A lot of stuff goes on. It's just, we're going to touch upon them. And the thing I really want to talk about and really stress today about today's show is the homegoing celebration of George Floyd. I really want to preface that. Did you guys see that? Did you guys get a chance to see that? Man, that amazing homegoing ceremony for Big George, as they call him. It was really moving. That was really touching. For me, it was very emotional watching that. If you're coming from, like, you might have some, white audiences watching the show right now. It's nothing like a homecoming in a black, quote unquote, black church. You really get a flavor of, it's more of a celebration and not as much as a funeral. This really had that feel about it. And, it was very emotional for me. Anytime you see anybody dying, passing away, but this one was a little bit different. It felt like, I knew George Floyd, which I did not. But but it had that type of feel to it. You know, it was a little different feel. I think, you know, we saw these killings, and we've seen killings in the past of you know, of innocent black and brown people, you know, preferably black people in this case. You know, we've seen this, but this particular homecoming had a different feel. And for me, it made me, you know, I'm going to remember where I was watching this homecoming for George Floyd. You know, I rewind back to where I was when 9/11 hit, when that came about in 2001. 2001. I knew where I was. I mean, my daughter Taya was going to be born. I thought she was going to be born that day, but 10 years later, she was born. 10 days later, she was born then. But I remember vividly where I was in my living room, you know, watching this. I remember where I was. So, you know, things like that. This type of homecoming had that same feel. You're going to remember where you were. You know, it brings it back to like seeing pictures of Emmett Till, the young man who was killed by a mob of white people because they thought that he whistled to a white woman. And it turns out on the white woman's deathbed, it turns out she lied about it. He never whistled to her. But, you know, but it had that feel. And again, talking about Emmett Till was the images of the mom leaving the casket open so America can see her son, you know, the damage that was done to her son, you know, just giving that image to America, letting them know how this, you know, racism is a bad injustice, but the strength of the mother doing that. You know, that was prevalent here. We got Leah joining us. What's going on, Leah? Welcome to Transition Tuesday. We also got Tracy joining us. What's going on, cuz? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays. Welcome, 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 one and all. So, this homecoming had a little different feel to it, and it's funny. You know, things are funny. When I was watching it, I was thinking about my dad. You know, my dad's passed away. He didn't die in the hands of, you know, of police or anything like that. But again, I flash forwarded. The story just came over me. It's just a feeling that I had was like, you know, my dad liked to call guys, like he used to call me Big Russ all the time. Big Russ. So I can just see my dad. Just something I really felt when I was watching that. I could just feel my dad, you know, I could just see this guy, Big Floyd, coming into the pearly gates, and my dad is there just walking him, say, hey, come in, Big Floyd. Come in, Big Floyd. And I could just see my dad just telling, you know, Big Floyd, hey, look, you know, man, you remind me of my two sons down there on earth. You know, that just came over me when I was watching it, you know, about my dad. So, you know, hearing, you know, calling him Big Floyd. So, you know, I really fast forwarded to my dad, because I know my dad's up there in heaven, and I know he's just bringing in Big Floyd there, and I could just see him having the conversations and having a conversation, you know, with Big Floyd about his two sons down on earth, how we look strikingly very similar to George Floyd. But again, that just crossed my mind when I was watching it. But, you know, this homecoming is a different feel to it. It just has a different feel to it. I think it can provoke change. And, you know, you had the eloquent speakers talking then. And I really want to talk about the family of George Floyd. Here's a family who was, you know, mourning and grieving, but doing it in the eye of the public. And, you know, and again, a lot, like one of the brothers, he quarreled the situation about rioting and stuff like that, you know, protest, but do it in a, you know, sanctified way, in a way in which my brother George would have wanted it. You know what I mean? So he called out, he created that change. I believe when he said that, one of the brothers of George Floyd, I believe when he said that, things did quell down, which is, you know, that's the power of that. But you have this family here who is going through mourning in a public forum. You know, we all mourn, and we have that opportunity to mourn privately, but here's a family that's mourning publicly, but just the dignity that they have as a family going forward. You know, we're watching them mourn, you know, and again, like Al Sharpton mentioned, I'm going to talk about that a little bit. You know, their son, George Floyd, is going to be disparaged now. He's going to really, you know, it's going to really come out about what he was or what he wasn't, or he did this, he did that, what have you. But again, you have this family the dignified manner in which they're going about things. And that's a credit to that family. That's a credit to the George Floyd family. So that's one thing I'm really impressed with, because again, the onslaught, the playbook is going to come. They're going to disparage this young man. We know that. Our Reverend Al said that. That's going to come. But again, you have this family just so dignified in their ways. So shout out to that family doing that. And, speaking of Al Sharpton, I think he did a great job. He always, that's what he does. But it was just, again, it was a little bit different than the ones that he's done before and for the other families. This one had a different feel with it. But, a couple of things I took away from Al Sharpton, he talked about, there's a punk in the pulpit. He talked about that. We know he mentioned things about people that we know who he's talking about, but he didn't even have to mention. He just did it so so smooth like that. And also he talked about wicked, the wickedness are in high places. Not just police departments, but in other places. Wickedness is in high places. But Al Sharpton, he really hit it high, on the nose. I know he talked about equal justice and equal fairness. That was a very important item that he talked about, because he made the analogy, if those were four black officers and they did that to a white man, there would be no need for protests, because those black officers would have been arrested and convicted of murder. So he's just saying there needs to be some equal justice, some equal fairness. So that's just something to really think about. And, he was just talking about how Big Floyd, I should say, Big Floyd, how, I think, this killing won't be done in vain. He is the vessel of change. I believe he's the vessel of change. And one thing that really struck me during this this homecoming was the white preacher that came on, and he talked about he has to do, him and his white counterparts who are reverends or what have you, or preachers, they have to do better. And he made the point, was like, he doesn't have, he can go back to his church and just continue teaching the way he does, to his audience. But he is making a point of being better and being for his brothers, for those black brothers and sisters there, being better, being for them, and bringing that type of mentality, that changing of the ways, to his congregation. I think that meant a lot. And I think that said a lot, to having that preacher, that preacher there, from that white church. I think that's going to make a difference. That's how change comes about. Just changing the mindset and having the bravery to do that. We got Cliff joining us. What's going on, Cliff? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays, my friend. We also have Terry joining us. What's up, Cookie? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays. As Cookie says, I too feel this one is different. Yes, I agree with you there, Terry. This homecoming was a little bit different, from the past ones. Man, it just has a different feel to it. I'm hoping, I'm praying that this creates, what I mean by the different feel is, it won't be like, hey, look, usually in the past, we've, in other cases with the police brutality, we had arrests, but we have no convictions. But in this particular case, here, it just feels different. It feels like they're going to get it right. And again, this takes time to do that. And, but again, it definitely has that different feel about it. And, but again, like I mentioned earlier, you're going to remember in this homecoming, you're probably going to remember where you were and what took place in this homecoming. You're going to definitely remember that. Hold on one second. As it is hot here. Need to put my air conditioner on, but if I put my air conditioner on, it's going to be too loud. But I'll suffer through it for the show, for the sake of the show, for the sake of Transition Tuesday. I'll suffer through the heat, which is a cool thing. But yeah, so other things I took away from the homecoming. Joe Biden, I think that was great to hear Joe Biden. I know he was there yesterday with the family, but it's good to have that video of him. And the one thing I took from that was when he said, you know us by what we do. That means the actions in which we take. I think that's important. What he said there. So I really took that. I like what I believe one of the speakers talked about how George Floyd's daughter. They asked her, what'd you think about your dad? And she said, my dad has changed the world. Again, I believe wholeheartedly with this young daughter. I think in this particular case, I think this has the opportunity to make change. I mean, we're seeing that out here with the protesters. Not only just protesting in the country, the whole 50 states, but protesting around the world. Around the world, they're protesting. Let's see what we got. Cliff says, hey, love you, Russ. I also feel different. More listening to each other rather than talking over one another. Yep, absolutely. Yep, it's all about listening to each other. I'm assuming you're meaning, Cliff, like white people and black people. So, yeah, listening to each other. Instead of talking to each other, we need to talk to one another. Terry says, we must push the vote. Absolutely, Terry. Absolutely. We must push the vote. And not only, Terry, just putting that, pushing the vote for the general election, but again, we got to do it on a local level. Do your voting for your local people. There's primaries. Actually, I think there's primaries going on now in certain states now. So you gotta, on the local level, you gotta vote in people and do your homework on these people on the local level, because these are the people you're gonna be having your judges, your district attorneys. These are important races. So before we vote in November, make sure you're voting in your local elections, because those are the people that's going to create the changes. Those people. So vote locally as well. We got Lawrence joining us. What's going on, Lawrence? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays. We also have my boy Neil Foley joining us. What's going on, Neil? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays, sir. We had Neil on before. Hey, Neil, man, just want to get your viewpoint. Man, I wish I could get you on camera here, man. Maybe we can talk. Let's see what we got. Who else is joining us? And Terry says, that's why I say this one is different. Yep, that's true. This one is definitely different. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can add them. Okay. Yes. And Terry says cookie. Yes. Yes, I know, Terry. I only know you as Cookie, All right. Who else? Does anything else? Anybody else say anything? We have, and my apologies if I'm saying your name incorrectly. We have Lawal McDaddy joining us. Welcome to Transition Tuesdays. I think this is the first time this person is coming on. I appreciate you. So, yeah. Again, it's a lot of emotions that went in to this homecoming, and and Cliff says vote. Absolutely, yep. Vote locally first, Cliff. Maybe that's so important, guys. I just want to really stress that vote locally, because your local officials, those are going to be the gatekeepers in your community. Because when you're voting on district attorneys, you're voting on things like that. You're voting on, but judges, most importantly, you're voting on judges. Those people are so important. So vote locally first. Your primaries, again, like I mentioned, primaries are going on in certain states now. Vote locally, and then again, as you know, we need to vote in the general election as well. We got anybody else joining? Oh, we got Karen joining us. What's going on, Karen? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays. Welcome. So, yeah, I just want to stress the fact, like I've been doing all, this particular day. Again, this is a different feel. This one had a different feel to it. This homecoming, and I think, and I know for a fact this can create change, and it's creating change already for the protesters. I mean, hey, it's created change in my family. I mean, I have my daughter Taya, who's just graduated from high school, but now she's on the now she's joined the protesters, and now she's joined the, Black Lives Matter movement. I can't stress how proud I am of my daughter, not only graduating from high school, but just getting involved with the social change and the injustices, I'm just so proud of that. And it's just young people are making that change. And, I'm really proud to see that. So, this can create change. Indictments can create change in this case. You know what I mean? Because like Reverend Oz mentioned about, the camera trucks and the TV trucks and those things are going to go away. But, when the trial does come and you get convictions, this is going to create the change that we're looking to have. It's going to create changes not only like from policing, it can create changes educational wise, about Black Lives Matter. This can be the antidote for change. You'd never want to see anybody dying in vain. And you just hope this case with George Floyd, this case, he doesn't die in vain. This case convicts those officers, number one. And then number two, creates the change throughout walks of life, from policing to education to corporate wise to, and speaking of change, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the NFL and Roger Goodell saying that, they got it wrong, and Black Lives Matter, and that's big, that's huge, and I'll get back to that in a second. But I want to talk about what Al Sharpton mentioned, and then I'll get back to the NFL. But Al Sharpton made a good point, because words are good, but actions are more important. Like Al Sharpton mentioned, okay, what Colin Kaepernick did, his words and his kneeling, everything was warranted. So, okay, that's great and all, but you should get him a job now. Now he should have a job. He should be, he stood up for it originally. We know it was wrong, what was going on, how he was shunned and everything like that. So, it's all about actions. Roger Goodell, that's great what he said and everything, but hey, now this guy should have a job. There's no excuse. Now he should have a job in the NFL based on his talent, number one. Okay, we didn't even talk about his talent, but number two, because he was kneeling for the right of Black Americans. Okay, in terms of the racial abuse towards Black people in the hands of police. Okay, Black Lives Matter. So words are good, at kumbaya moments, Roger Goodell did, but by his actions, if you have him on a team and he gets his job back, that shows change. And if you just acknowledge, he mentioned many people have, in the NFL, they were protesting and they got it right. Say his name. Say his name. That might, and again, but I just want to preface this. It might have been a situation in which, he settled out of court, Kaepernick and everything. So it might have been a gag order. Maybe he couldn't say that or what have you. But again, saying something, doing something. Hey, when you do it, give him his job. That's how you do it. That's how you create the change. So, I'm hoping all of this will create some change. And, and I know it will. I definitely know it would. I know this young man didn't die in vain. Terry says, let us be the change we want to see. No doubt about it. No doubt about that, Terry. Let us be the change we want to see. And again, that's why the protesters are out there in full force, protesting, sign of change, which is a marvelous thing to see. And that's why I'm always mentioning how this one here, this homecoming, this what's going on with George Floyd, this is just a little bit different. And again, it's all about words. Words are great. Apologies are great. We're seeing this a lot in the NFL, from football to coaches to players. Words are great, but actions are even loud. Actions will make a bigger, broader statement. And speaking about, words and everything in action. So now you had, in the NFL, you had Goodell, came out and said, it was wrong, Black Lives Matter and everything, which is fine. But again, you haven't heard one peep from the owners. You haven't heard anything from the owners. And again, I think a couple of owners on record saying, like, if these players continue to kneel, they might be out of a job. Now, that's a problem right there. So, because we haven't heard from the owners. What do the owners think? And Roger Goodell, I mean, he made a big statement because he, in essence, works for the owners. So he's probably going against what the owners feel about, but we don't know what the owners feel about it because they haven't said anything. And that's the most important thing about these owners. Are they going to come out and say that Black Lives Matter? Are they going to allow their players to kneel during the national anthem? Because they know what the situation is. It was never about a flag. It was all about the lives of black people in the hands of police. That's why we're kneeling for that, because black lives do matter. So we're going to need to stay tuned on that. Because again, what I'm trying to stress is words are great, but actions really talks about the actual story and what takes place. So, I just want to stress that to everybody out there. Appreciate anybody else joining us. Terry says, I'm proud of Generation Z. Yes, that is this generation, right, Terry? I just want to make sure the Generation Z is this generation, right? Just making sure. I just want to make sure I got that right. So yeah, and again, just to piggyback on that, Terry, I'm proud of that, that group as well. Like I talked about my daughter, I'm proud about that. And I'm proud that my daughter has joined the fight. And I'm also proud that the relationships that she has, because she has, white friends or what have you. But the great thing about it, what she does, what younger people are doing is they're having conversation. They're having dialogue, Taya's having conversation with her friends' parents. So that's how you keep it. That's how you have change. Like some people might say, some people might, you might, like if you're a black person on there right now and a white person might ask you, hey, look, what can I do to change? Or, what can I do? I think the answer you can give them, and I'll share this with you because I've had some conversation with some white counterparts is, when you have the opportunity to teach your kids or your, grandkids or what have you, take the time out to teach them about what's going on, about the plight, okay? About what's going on. You have to teach them. You have to change the mindset. So that is the thing. You have to do that. I think a lot of times white people, you have to give in your white privilege card. We as black people, we're not going to keep your card, but you can just give that in, and you're doing that by protesting. Because again, what happens is, guys, black people aren't going to end racism. We can't do that. We can't do the heavy lifting on that. White people will have to do that by just saying, hey, look, this is wrong. This is an injustice. And the mindset has had to change. White people is going to have to make the change. We're not responsible of change. We're not responsible. We as black people, black, brown people, we're not responsible to end racism. We can't do that. Okay. It's going to be up to white people, but it's also, you have to have the dialogue with your family about the plights of black people. I just read recently that the movie Selma, which is a great movie, now that's being offered to people for free. Look at movies like this, white people. Look at movies like this. Read about it. Talk to people. Have the dialogue to see the plight. And put yourselves, show empathy. Show empathy. That's what you need to do. Show empathy to black and brown people. I think when you do these things, these will help you out. Just showing empathy. Just put yourselves in your shoes, in our shoes. Put yourself in the place of, unfortunately, George Floyd. Put yourself in his shoes. Empathize with that. Have a heart. If you do that, I think that creates change. Dialogue creates change, like we're doing here today, talking about it. And actions puts change, but being sympathetic, being empathetic to the plight of black people. I think that goes a long way, and I think that's the answer I would give to people if I was asked, if a white person asked me, which they have asked me, what can I do? What can I do to help? And I think that's that can be done. We have Al joining us. What's going on, Al? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays. And Terry says, hold on one second. We want equality. Yep, that's what it's all about. Yep, it's all about that, Terry. Yeah, we just want equality. We don't want to hold on to your white privilege card. No, we're going to give that back to you. Just a loaner. We just want equality. Like Reverend Al said, we don't want anything. We don't want money from you. We just want that knee off our necks. That's all we want. We just want equality. We just want equal fairness and equal justice. That's all we want. That's all we want. And that's all we're pushing for. And that's what the protesting is all about. And that's what voting is all about. We want equal fairness and equal justice. So go out and do that. Go out and do that. Oh, man, I tell you, man. Whew. I am getting hot, ladies and gentlemen. So I just want to say this really quick, okay? Now, as I always end the show usually, but I want you guys to give this a thought though, okay? So, if this show was able to make you laugh, smile, and most importantly today is think, okay? Just go out there and think. Okay, you have accomplished something major today, my friends. So celebrate your victory. Celebrate the victory of knowing where you were today when this George Floyd homecoming went. Just know where you are. This was a monumental day in American history. Just remember where you are. Celebrate that victory. Celebrate that victory. As my outro song goes on, because I got to get in this air conditioner because I am getting hot. So, hey guys, I want to just thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you guys. Oh man, again, it's a poignant day for me. I'm just, I'm really, really emotional just watching the homecoming. It's just gonna remind me of where I was and what I was doing and how this is going to really change things. And I really feel in my heart that this is going to change things. So I'm just glad to be here for you guys and be a part of it. So again, I thank you guys for watching Transition Tuesdays. As you guys can see, again, I don't want to hog things, but if you see that little painting up there, okay, that's for my daughter, my young queen, Anissa. She has art. It's called Art by Anissa. If you go to Facebook on her page, go check that out. You get paintings just like that one and many others. So I'm just trying to support my daughter, my young parent, my young entrepreneur. So just go check that out. Please go check out Art by Anissa. Okay, please do that. And again, guys, as I always say in parting, happy transitioning. And we'll talk to you soon. And be safe out there, guys. God bless. Take care.